Listen, break.
Да, горловка, ёпта, ой. Ой-ой-ой. Ой, вся горловка горит. Что ж ты, блядь, делаете? Ужас.
This is what the town of Sderot looked when the sirens sounded. After a month of calm on the Israel-Gaza border, Palestinian factions launched a rocket towards Israel's southern towns and villages, sending hundreds of citizens to shelters. The Iron Dome anti-missile system intercepted the rocket, and Israeli aircrafts retaliated in the Gaza Strip shortly after.
Let's also get you a report on the situation at the line of actual control and what comes as a clear declaration of our intent that we will not bow down before China. The Indian Army has decided to rush in more troops to the line of actual control. From Himachal Pradesh to Uttarakhand and Arunachal Pradesh, India is building up militarily to counter the Chinese. Manjit Negi gets you these details.
Hundreds of army trucks are carrying troops, ammunition, resources and supplies to be deployed along the line of actual control in eastern and southern Ladakh. But this mobilization is not restricted to Ladakh alone. The army is deploying for the long haul, all along the India-China line of actual control and settled border in Himachal Pradesh, Barahoti in Uttarakhand, North Sikkim and along the Arunachal Pradesh border. This, even as commanders on the ground remain engaged to find a mutually acceptable resolution to the Ladakh standoff.
More tensions tonight between the U.S., its Pacific allies, and China. New concerns over China's expansion of its claims to islands in the South China Sea. Pentagon producer Lucas Tomlinson has the latest.
New satellite imagery shows China's military buildup in the South China Sea continues despite assurances from China's president last year.
China does not intend to pursue militarization.
But these new photos from a Washington foreign policy group say otherwise. Experts say they show reinforced aircraft hangars capable of housing bombers and fighter jets visible on Fiery Cross, Subi, and Mischief Reef.
Over the last few weeks, tensions have been rising in the waters of the eastern Mediterranean, triggered by rivalry over energy resources between Turkey and Greece.
So what explains Erdogan's aggression? Junking old treaties and using the military to do the talking. Who does this remind you of? China.
These are the choppy waters of geopolitics in the eastern Mediterranean. Turkish and Greek ships are sailing in these waters. The differences are old, but some have turned into disputes, threatening to engulf the whole of Europe.
There is a new fact that was revealed amid the strengthening of the issue of the Great War involving the Egyptian armed forces with the Turkish military in Libya.
Will conduct live fire drills in the East China Sea in next 2 weeks amid rising tensions over a high-level U.S. visit to Taiwan.
Millions of mosquitoes form tornadoes across the sky of Kamchatka, just like in a horror movie. Some residents didn't move from their homes for at least 3 days. Moreover, the invasion normally lasts 3 days, but this year the phenomenon has lasted more than 10 days.
我操！这他妈！哎呀，高压水啊！哪儿多？哦！我操！我他妈都咋录视频了？
7.1 earthquake has hit California just one day after another earthquake.
Right now, a strong earthquake rattling the East Coast this morning. The 5.1 magnitude quake centering in Sparta, North Carolina.
Let's just get you the latest news at this hour. It is about an earthquake that was felt in Delhi and the
seismic events yet once again. And if you missed my update last night, it was last night around 9 or 10 o'clock Central Time. We had a big earthquake develop over here in the West Pacific, over in Philippines. And that's just where we're going to start today's update. You're going to see the earthquakes that are raised high off the globe. Those are over the past 48 hours. But in the past 24 hours, a series of newer deep earthquakes have developed in the West Pacific, right at our letter D's, right here, and right here in Indonesia.
Now, India and Pakistan are facing their worst plague of locusts in decades. Authorities in both countries fear a food security crisis. And even as Pakistan struggles with the economic fallout of the coronavirus lockdown, its agricultural sector says the insect infestation poses a greater challenge.
These tiny insects are far from fussy eaters. Feasting in swarms of millions, they're now threatening to out-eat Pakistan's population at a critical time. The first and second weeks of June are going to be critical for us because the locusts that are now in Iran and in Muscat will start heading towards Pakistan. Dealing with economic costs of lockdown. Here, teams are scrambling to stop the swarms before breeding can take place during the monsoon season, which begins in July.
It sounds biblical, but as the world grapples with the COVID pandemic, the continent of Africa is facing another plague, locusts. As Nick Schifrin reports, the small insects pose a serious threat to food security throughout the region.
In East Africa, the air carries two plagues. Locusts, swarms with as many as 50 billion insects. As COVID-19 threatens the people, locusts threaten people's livestock and food.
They are being a menace, eating our grass and even getting into our homes. When we slaughter our livestock, we find locust faces in their stomachs. Without a doubt, they are affecting our health, our animals' health, and the environment.
In February, 8 East African countries experienced an initial swarm, the largest for parts of the region in 70 years. And now, a new wave is 20 times larger than the first wave.